Rise, Meg.
The Force will be with you.
Hello my dear friends and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. So today's video is going to be an extra long special edition of the news where I'm keeping you guys up to date with all of the things going on in a galaxy far, far away. We're going to be talking about George Lucas, Mark Hamill and some amazing new details for The Mandalorian Season 3. Before I dive into the news, please may I ask you to hit like down below, subscribe to my channel if you're brand new and a huge welcome if you are, and please be sure to hit the notification bell to be alerted each and every time that I post new content to the channel. You can expect daily Star Wars updates from me. So without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. Our first article is from Grunt Stuff and it states Mando and Baby Yoda will reportedly return in future Star Wars movies. So as I've stated before on my channel, a big question we have after the Season 2 finale is will Grogu and Din reunite in Season 3? Of course we want to see him back with his son Grogu, and there is little doubt he will actually train with Luke Skywalker. So this article claims that Lucasfilm insider Daniel Richman is now claiming that Din Djarin and Grogu will reunite in an upcoming Star Wars movie. He didn't give any more details and it's quite a vague statement. As I stated in yesterday's video, The Mandalorian, as well as its many spin-off shows, are acting as a new sequel trilogy, so to speak. So it would make sense that all of the upcoming Star Wars movies that will be theatrical releases, rather than just on Disney+, will be centered around the post-Return of the Jedi era, but before the current sequel trilogy, the Disney trilogy, as it's also known as. I think this is really exciting news because we could have a grand adventure with Grogu and Din Djarin that's more than the 20 to 50 minute long episodes we've got in The Mandalorian so far. Now speaking of this reunion between Grogu and Din Djarin, I'm not too sure if it will happen in Season 3. I've heard some people suggest that Grogu will not train with Luke Skywalker and he will be back with Mando in the next season of the show. But it could turn out that we follow two different storylines in Season 3 where it's Luke with Grogu and Din and the whole Darksaber story with Bo-Katan, the Nite Owls and Mandalore. And perhaps at the end they will reunite and then Season 4, the final season, might be all about a new adventure entirely with those two reunited. But what do you guys think of this piece of news, and do you think it's a good idea to put Grogu and Din Djarin in an adventure of their own on the big screen rather than just on Disney Plus in the show that we know and love? So my friends, with that in mind, let's move on to our next article. And this is really exciting news. It states that Mark Hamill reportedly open to Star Wars return now after talking to Lucasfilm. Following the conclusion of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, it looked as though we'd never see Mark Hamill play Luke Skywalker ever again. After all, not only was the legendary Jedi killed off in Rian Johnson's Episode 8, but any potential return wouldn't have made sense in The Mandalorian's timeline, with the Disney Plus show taking place roughly 25 years prior to The Force Awakens. True, actors are known for their versatility, but the thought of a 69-year-old Mark Hamill trying to pass himself off as a 3 decades younger would have been a stretch. However, after months of rumours and speculation that he would be involved in the aforementioned Disney Plus series, Luke appeared in the Season 2 finale in the biggest single helping of fan service to grace a show that thrives on it. The CGI used to de-age Hamill was not great, but because it was Luke Skywalker interacting with Din and Grogu, we gave it a pass. However, the surprise cameo has now led to renewed talks that the original trilogy's hero could become a major part of the franchise once again, with fans lobbying for Sebastian Stan to take over because the technology wouldn't be convincing enough to power an entire season of the Uncanny Valley's Luke. It's reported now that Hamill is open to a proper Star Wars return, having talked with some of the key players at Lucasfilm, although further details remain unclear. Of course, he could play a Force ghost if any of the movies or TV shows are planning on canonically continuing on from The Rise of Skywalker, but anything more substantial might prove tricky unless the de-aging effects are massively improved between now and whenever he next appears. I think this article is right in stating that it is a very exciting prospect that Mark Hamill will return to the Star Wars franchise, but they are right in saying that it's kind of unclear how he will do so, considering the fact that they're not going to be continuing the story onwards from The Rise of Skywalker, but rather going back to post-Return of the Jedi era of the galaxy. So like I say, it's not really clear what role he will have, but I'm more than happy to see Mark Hamill return. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. So now let's move on to our next one, and this is about George Lucas, who is rumoured to be more involved in The Mandalorian Season 3. I spoke about this briefly in a video a couple of weeks ago, but the news seems to have gained a lot more traction to do with this story in particular. So it's been rumoured that George Lucas is going to have more of a creative role in Mandalorian's 3rd season, which is interesting to say the least. Now, there does seem to be a paradox with George Lucas returning to Star Wars, because a lot of fans didn't like the way he writes scripts, especially the dialogue in the prequel trilogy, but this could be vastly different if he has more of a directive and creative role, which he thrives at. I mean, just look at the original trilogy. He's amazing at knowing which direction the story should go in without necessarily touching the dialogue, because Star Wars fans criticize the dialogue specifically in Attack of the Clones more than any other Star Wars movie. I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, as well as Peyton Reed and Robert Rodriguez, Bryce Dallas Howard and all of the other writers and directors on The Mandalorian, they all do a phenomenal job, especially Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who seem to really understand what fans want, and Dave Filoni in particular really knows the Star Wars galaxy inside out. But that doesn't mean I don't want George Lucas to return. It would be absolutely phenomenal to see him direct one episode where it's his own creative vision that goes along in the right direction for the appropriate story and the plot. So we shall see how that turns out. And finally, we've got an article which is talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is obviously poised to return to either The Mandalorian Season 3 or more likely the Ahsoka Tano spin-off show. But it's now been reported that there will be a Grand Admiral Thrawn movie. So like I stated at the beginning of this news update, the Mandalorian universe, so to speak, is taking over as the new direction for Star Wars in terms of the movies coming up, in terms of how it will almost replace the sequel trilogy. So now we could get a Grand Admiral Thrawn film in and of itself. And there's been a lot of talk in the last few days and weeks about who's going to play Thrawn in live action form, and I think they've already given it to Lars Mikkelsen according to all of the rumours and all of the reports, and I don't think it's a good idea to put any A-listers even near The Mandalorian, so don't give us Robert Downey Jr. or even The Rock, who was rumoured to be in the show. It wouldn't sit right, and I think it's great to have actors who of course are very talented but aren't really known outside of The Mandalorian or Star Wars in general, particularly with a character like Thrawn who has this great mythology behind him. I mean, we haven't seen him in live action, but we saw him in the animated shows and also in the original Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. So this character is very beloved by OG Star Wars fans, and you have to be very delicate and very careful with the way you put him into either The Mandalorian or Ahsoka or even his own film in the future. The character has to shout, "This is Thrawn, this is how Thrawn was always supposed to look in live action form," and that is not an easy task. In my own personal opinion, I think Lars Mikkelsen would do a phenomenal job as Thrawn compared to Robert Downey Jr. And I guess I'm being a little bit unfair because I'm just basing it off physicality and also the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is much more of an A-list celebrity. But I guess my main thesis is do Thrawn the right way, do not mess him up. It's not a character we can afford to fuck up in live action form, if I'm being completely honest with you. But what do you guys think? There was quite a few things to get through in today's update. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and as always, if you're feeling generous, please head over to my Patreon page. For just $2 or $10 a month, you get exclusive access to content that is not found here on YouTube, and that includes The High Republic, Star Wars Explained, and of course my podcast, which is called Megasodes. That is all I have for you guys today. I will see you next time. I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.